While I'm up and while I'm messing around with the graphics, I might as well just stream what I'm doing. I'm working with this old program known as Infinity Textures or Texture Maker. I'm just redoing some of these gradients here, and it's a little bit tricky. It's a multi-step process. The way that this works is first I have to make this gradient. I'm using a gradient generator here, which will create a gradient in whatever direction I tell it to, and that's what I want it to do. So I'm just trying to adjust this transformation curve so that this edge is closer to the edge here. This white bit's going to be a little bit less pronounced. I think that stretches out the edge a bit. I want it to be more like that, more smooth. And then I'm going to keep shifting it over just a bit to the right. I'm just scooting my edge closer to the top here. I can smoothen that out a bit. I don't want it too close. I don't actually want it at the edge. I want a little bit of black outline here. I'm come down here to the translate functions and use this one called toCircle, and I'm testing out different sizes. It's supposed to warp it into a circle, which it's doing correctly. And I kind of want it to be, oh, that's pretty close. Let's go back to my generator here. Right. Well, it's in alphabetical order, and I always scroll right past things looking right at them. And I'll just scoot it just a little bit more towards the edge here. I don't want it to actually reach the edge. Smoothing that out a little bit where it melds into the black. And I'll come back and try my circle. That's pretty close. And I actually am trying to create a certain size. So these were not, I didn't make them wide enough. I also forgot to save all my presets, my gradient presets, which I can go ahead and do now. It's got my transformation type. I'm going to save that as planet atmosphere. And that lets me pull it up from this little preset list anytime I want, and I can save all of my settings, all of my functions, and everything. This program is not available anymore. It's one of the many abandonware tools that I still have in my collection. And I like to use this one for a lot of weird stuff like making gradients. It's very easy to make customizable gradients. I'm actually trying to make one that's slightly bigger. They're all currently in a 512 except for this one, which is 600, and I just resized one of my other ones to make this atmosphere, and that's not what I should have done. I also kind of want to brighten it just a little bit. That's going to be a little bit dim, so I kind of just mess with these settings a bit. You can scoot things around and then call back up the previous settings. So I kind of want it to be a sharper edge. I'll come back over here. You can undo that. It's not quite right, but I want it to be. That was a little bit too far. I always forget which direction to hit. I want it to be more like this. So that's closer to the edge there. And that's smoothed out just a little bit too much. We'll make it 196. Keep that there, and I want this to be a little bit lower, 50. So it's going to scoot that up, brighten up this central part, maybe 52. Brighten up this bit, but then I got to scoot this back just a little bit. So 208. 208. Pull my edge back in. This is going to be a big bright center in the circle. That's a little bit more what I want. So now I'm probably going to save over my preset. And now that I have that preset, I can go ahead and make a new image here. I can generate my gradient really quickly and then come all the way back down here. There's even a super sampling option here which provides like a blur or anti-aliasing or something. I want to warp that to a circle, and that should be a bit better than this weird one. It's a little bit dimmer. I'm going to test it out and see if I like it. And if I don't like it, I'll go to my game development folder. I'll just plop it in here. Atmosphere glow 600 by 600. That should be the one that actually, yeah, I don't really want that one, so I'm going to replace that with my bigger glow. Boop. And that should replace the one that I had on the sun in the center, which is over here. And now it looks quite a bit smoother. Much smoother on the... doesn't have those weird, ugly pixels. You could see the stretching from me resizing it. So that's a little bit better there. And I also... the 512 is not quite big enough, I don't think. I'm trying to make just a light glow for the gas giants, and since they're basically all gas, or they're basically all atmosphere, it's really hard to see. You can kind of see the thin line here. I think the one I'm using for that one is also, it might not be. I might have made one for it. Yeah, I think I made a decent looking one and then just increase the size. So 122, 512 by 512 increased to 122%. I actually don't know what that is. But it's just the right value here, so I could probably Google that. And not even sure, let's see, 512 increased by 122%. It's going to be a weird number. What? 512% more? No. 122% more than 512. 1,000. Yeesh, I don't think it's double. Oh, it's just 22%. 620. 624. So, I mean, this is about the right size. I might have to actually shrink that. But, come back in here. I actually, because I didn't want to resize the gas giant's atmosphere. I just kind of wanted to keep it the same size. So I'm going to actually export this so I can save it. What am I going to say that is? Gas giant atmosphere original. Then I'll replace that with the 600. It's a little bit bigger. I don't want it to be 122. Well, I just want it to be 100. Okay. It's probably going to disappear. Okay, that's a little bit bigger than I really want for the gas giant. So it's actually a little bit better if I shrink it. So I could actually probably make it its own here. So the 512 is just a bit underneath the size, so maybe 540. 544-ish. Not even that. More like 528. Oh my god, can't type. We come back to the generators, throw in our gradient since it's already loaded up, and scoop it up into a circle and save it. So that'll be gas giant atmosphere 528 by 528. Oh my god, not 523. A little bit picky about that. And I'll come back over here. So that's a bit much for a gas giant. So we'll pull that one in, shrink that down just a little bit. Let's see if that's just barely there. It's there, but it's barely there. So I was right with the first call. 544. I just want I want them all to have their own correct graphic. So make a gradient with my transform, gain transform, make it into a circle. And cover over this one, but I'm going to rename that so it says 544. I don't need the other one. Excuse me. And then back to the gaseous atmosphere and pull in the 544, which I accidentally clicked. Okay, so that should extend it just a little bit more. It's visible, it's there, you can see it. I don't want it to be super visible. Don't want it to be very there. So it's just visible, just barely aglow. That's all I really want. And I could probably brighten that up just a little bit, but it's kind of the effect that I want. I could probably go back to the gradient generator. Maybe. So I want more brightness there. So a little bit less than I want. I want it to scooch. And that's pushing it off the edge. Let me see if it keeps the black if I circleize it. So that's a little bit brighter. It's also kind of cut off more, which I don't know if I want it to be cut off like that. Readjust that so it's actually back on the screen. A little bit smoother there. Just a tad smoother. I don't want to pull it in that much. Actually, I want to push it back a little bit and then make it such tiny buttons. Smooth that out just a little bit. There we go. And now circleize it, sphericize it, to circle it. That's closer to a brightness that I want. So I don't know. I'll try that. Still going to be hard to see it because the gas giants aren't going to really have much atmosphere, I don't think. That should sort of push the brightness a little bit. What did I do? Did I import the old one? What? I don't know what I just did. Where's my atmosphere? It disappeared. And it's wearing the right layer. Let me see if I can increase the magnification. Just to 110. Just to see if it's there. It's there. Got a hard cutoff for the atmosphere. That wasn't even much different. So go back to my gradient generator. Oh, that's what I wanted to do, yeah. I'm going to scoot that back in. Still needs some black at the top there. I don't know why it didn't show up. That was weird. It's not hidden inside the gas giant. Oh, that one got saved as 512 for some reason. What? So that one's correct. Weird. Okay, I don't really know what I did, but that should be. Why is it saving us 512? Oh, that's why. I'm working in a 512 canvas. So I want to work in this 544 canvas. Spacing out. Okay, so get my gradient back there. I actually think I can push that back out again. Back to 52. Scooch that and give it a little bit more black, a little bit less. Needs more blur. Well, I'll give that a shot. That's pretty close. It's kind of. Oops. Okay. Just want it to be a little bit brighter on the edges, and it should be now. I don't know how I missed that. So back to that. This should be 544. So that increases that size too much. I want that back at 100. Oop. And then we'll save that. Now it should be back to normal, just with a little bit more there. Now you can see it has its own atmosphere. The sun's got a bunch of glow. I'm going to do some work with this to try and figure out a way to, because I can combine different functions from this. It's kind of weird. It lets you choose an opacity mask or a source and then apply functions in specific orders, like since these are already circles, it's wrapping those circles into themselves. But you can, I have to make a whole new texture to demonstrate some of the stuff, but what I kind of want to do is apply some type of rippling effect. I'm not sure which kind of noise to use. I could use, that's a, like I could use some kind of, you know, your typical Perlin noise. I wonder if that would let me, yeah. I could use Perlin noise to create sort of like a bumpy atmospheric layer, but then I can animate the noise so that it moves around. I want it to have this cooler effect because the surface of the sun also needs a bit of work, but it's got some, you know, bubbly animation going on. And I want the corona, or the glow, to have sort of this. It's not going to look like that, but there's a couple different kinds of noise I could try out. And I think that's the type. Perlin noise turbulence I could try. to reset every time. There's some bubbly wobblies that I can try. I'd have to do a lot of testing. There's different settings. So I wanted to have like lighter and darker areas on the edges, and using permanent amp and reset, not permanent amp, yeah, permanent noise with the right opacity mask. Change the seeds or how many octaves, just like any other program that has permanent noise. I don't think I'm going to overlay this on top of the sun, but I want the atmosphere to have this Ripley effect. So most likely I'm going to rework the gradient, because I want to start from the ground up. You start with the gradient, do some noise work to the gradient, and have this kind of Ripley edge. But I want it to be more defined than this. And then when let's just experiment there. Once it's got the noise, you can wrap it up into a sphere from there. But since I applied the noise to the black, it's also in the black, which is not what I want. But I want to apply some noise. I'll mask it out with another one of these, so I only have the circular shape. That's why. So I had the same opacity mask, but that's actually, I'm going to test that out. So I don't want that to have the same opacity mask when I'm circularizing it. Then I get the black background, and it's spherical now, so it's warped correctly so that the edges are curving. And if you just apply, oops, if you just apply the noise to the, oh my gosh, if you just apply it to the circle, and you just use itself as an opacity mask, you can see that it's just flat and it doesn't actually curve around the sides. But in this one, I can actually look at it bigger. You can see that it like curves into the atmosphere layers, and that will add to the illusion that it's an actual sphere. Looks like an eyeball. And that's kind of what I want to do with that. And then I'll have this cool Ripley outside. We'll have to do some experimentation, and then there's some animation that I could do where I'd have to apply. It's kind of weird. There's a way to set this up so that it does certain things when it's animating, and you set the frame rate, and there's the time offset is how many frames it goes, because every single step, every frame it moves through, you have to untick random seed. Every frame it moves through the Perlin noise. I think it moves through the z-axis or something, but it changes one step at a time, but it'll do 100 individual steps unless you set up this frame skip thing here, and then you can get a 10 frame animation. It's interesting, but that's how I'm going to do some of the glow, I believe. Or at least some of the sun effects I can do with my glowy atmospheres. And then after I've got the Ripley atmosphere going, I can do something like, I want to do like flare lines, flare animations, and that's another, I'm not really sure which option will be best in here. I think I'm going to have to manually draw some shapes to get the actual appearance that I want, because there's not really any. I can draw shapes, you can paint on things. Why is it still doing that? You can paint on stuff, and it would be more like, I could pick smaller brushes as well, but I'm hoping to do more like these flares that come out from the sun, and then they might be static, just like these cool little stylized lines that fade in and out. But I'm still working on what I want to do exactly. because I'm not a expert on suns or animation. Mostly, I don't know, if you ever read the about page on my website here, screamingbrainstudios.com, you can learn a little bit about the project, and you can learn that I'm mostly just doing it for fun. It's kind of a hobbyist. I consider myself to be a hobbyist, but all the stuff that I learn, I wish I could show off in a way that was usable, because most of this stuff is abandonware and you can't get any of it anymore. And I just love working with them, and I wish everybody could, but at least I can show off the stuff that I'm working on using these old tools. And since I'm not a professional animator, a lot of what I do is experimenting and discovery and trial and error, and there's all kinds of different functions that you can use in this program. I can make all kinds of little animations. I can make static out of this. I could animate the different types of noises to make screen static. It's really good for gradients and random generated stuff, but what you ultimately end up doing is combining all of these multiple times into really nice textures, and then it actually lets you save them. You can save your own scripts to make all kinds of stuff, and I've made, I've got conversion stuff for isometric tiles. I think this is a bit too big. It'll still work. It'll convert it into an isometric tile if I do it right. I think I have to run it from here. Yeah, that'll make an isometric version of that circle. That works with pretty much anything. I had to write the scripts myself, which it's really cool how there is a script editor built in, and you can actually just line up a series of functions, have it rescale something, have it copy and make duplicates, and then there's all kinds of little steps. But it can do everything from custom menus to, designing random just stone textures. It'll make a different agate texture here every time I use it. You can actually go back to the sphere that you were working on, and got all kinds of stuff in here now. Just to it's good for my workflow. It's good to quickly, if there's something that you want to make a bunch of, like when I need a bunch of rocky textures, or I've got some stones in here and rocks, and there's some that I still have the opacity mask on. That's a cool effect, though. You can actually save that and blend out the background and just have this patchy stonework. But I forgot to clear the opacity mask. I don't think it's still selected, but yeah, that's just, I don't know, short. Is that 30 minutes? I just wanted to take a peek at some of the extra stuff that I do behind the scenes of the games. And this is usually what I'm working on instead of the game development stuff. If you're watching for my space game, it's kind of like a cross set of hobbies. I like to make the graphics a lot and then test them out in game engines and map editors and stuff, just to see them or make them move. And it's fun working on the space project because I get to try out all these different techniques that I've figured out or came up with, or just discovered over the years that you can't really do with. I'm sure you can do a lot of this kind of stuff with Photoshop, and GIMP especially has the GMake filter suite, which you can get a link straight to it right here on my website. It's Greg's Magic for Image Computing, and I'll just open it up here. It's like a massive. This is just a peek at, like, I don't even know what that is. It looks like a screenshot of ImageMagick, but it looks more like this. It's a big menu of filters that opens up inside GIMP, and it is just full of different kinds of features and functions that they're made by all of these different people, and it's not available for Photoshop. So it's really for someone looking for all free stuff, and that's really what I'm trying to do, is collect all the cheap and free, especially free public domain stuff that anybody could afford, anybody can use, anybody can get. You can get GIMP at, I believe it's gimp.org. Yeah, gimp.org. You can go straight to the website and grab a copy of that for free, and then grab a copy of gmic at gmic.eu. They've got a download section right on the side, and it just installs right into the plugins folder for GIMP. But once you get into that, I don't even know if I can overstate how useful it is. It's going to take a minute to load that up. But I mostly work with Texture Maker and Infinity Textures, or Genetica, but GIMP also, just create a new document. I don't want it to be that big. And just to open the gmic filter suite, it's beautiful. It's full of stuff. It auto updates if you want it to. You can actually make all. I mean, this is a terrible, terrible thing to have open for examples. So I could actually probably open a texture or something from one of my graphics packs. We'll go into the tiny texture pack and grab a brick texture, just your average. Grab one of these noticeably square patterned ones, and you can see in the preview window over here there's all kinds of stuff. There's arrays. You can duplicate how wide or how narrow, chessboard. There's tons and tons and tons of artistic filters, frames that you can put around it, different kinds of edge detection. There's some really great stuff in here, like the Cartesian transformation filter. I've got a few tutorials on my website that use this. Clicking on this with your right mouse button lets you see what it originally was, but it allows you to put in little formulas that perform pixel operations on the image, and that's something that you can't do in Photoshop either. But just wanted to point these tools out to you guys and just take a peek at some of the stuff instead of just focusing on the game development or the space game project. I can at least show off some of these tools. I won't get too in depth. I won't go crazy making textures or anything right now, but just to cover something different for a little bit. But thank you guys for stopping and watching these videos. Hopefully they're informative or at least entertaining. And let me know if there's anything you guys want to check out, or if I can answer any questions. But thank you. I'm going to jump off for now, and I'll probably start streaming on Twitch again. Probably sometime tonight. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It'll be in the evening tomorrow, but you can still check out all these videos on YouTube. Just go to my channel. Have a good morning, evening, day, whatever it is for you. Peace.